30 people were killed in a terrible tragedy. And Richard Kaplan does a great job on our aviation report. He's doing his report tonight, and some of the events in Paris kind of mirror what Richard's going to talk about that terrible tragedy in Paris and some of the after effects of the tragedy in Paris. So I give you Richard Kaplan.
Thank you so much, Howie. It's an honor as always. Good evening, Long Island. Good evening, Oceanside. The skies are partly cloudy tonight, but we've just been cleared for takeoff, so let's fly. My first segment is on the recent wake of the ISIS attacks. As we may or may not have been aware, there were 2 incidents involving Air France flights. One was Air France Flight 55, which was en route to Washington, D.C. from Paris Charles de Gaulle. It had 255 passengers on board. The aircraft in question was a Boeing 777-300, which is a pretty big jet. And all the passengers on board both flights were safely evacuated. What I'm going to explain with this is probably wondering why this big thing is here. I'm going to explain in a couple of minutes what this has to represent. Mainly in the wake of terrorism, 9/11, as many of us know, changed the world forever, especially for me as an aviation expert. It has changed my life dramatically. Now we are constantly being monitored. These aircraft are constantly flying. We don't even know they're in the sky, but they are in the sky constantly. And I'll explain why. 2 Air France flights, basically, Flight 55 was heading from Paris to Washington Dulles International Airport with 262 passengers on board, along with the crew, was diverted to Halifax, Nova Scotia, where the Nova Scotian Division of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police evacuated all the passengers and had their bomb-sniffing dogs go on board the aircraft to detect for explosives. None were found. At around the same time, Air France Flight 65, which was traveling from Los Angeles, California to Paris Charles de Gaulle, was diverted to Salt Lake City due to a bomb threat. Flight 65 landed in Salt Lake City at around 7:30 p.m. local time with 497 passengers and crew on board. Airport officials at LAX confirmed that they had received a bomb threat concerning Flight 65 after the plane had departed. All of the passengers and crew were safely evacuated from the A380 Super Jumbo. It is unclear just who is responsible for the bomb threats, although the FBI later said that there was no evidence found to support the threat. Now, if this had happened over the skies of New York, the New York Air National Guard, also known as the 174th Flight Wing, which is its representatives, would have been dispatched. The procedure is very simple. When an airline sends out a distress signal regarding a hijacking, they will dispatch these fighters to shadow the aircraft. Once airborne, the pilot will try to line up with the cockpit window so he can see if there is in fact a terrorist in the cockpit. Once that's confirmed, then the situation takes what can be a pretty serious turn. If they do not comply with the instructions given by the Air Force has the right to shoot the airliner down as a last resort. That is why I brought this in. The aircraft, no pilot ever wants to do this. I know a lot of combat pilots in my field of aviation. I've met people. It is the one job they do not ever want to do, which is why they always go in pairs. In case one chickens out, the other one will unfortunately have to execute the order. Now, this particular aircraft is a General Dynamics F-16 Fighting Falcon. The NATO code for it is Viper, and it lives up to its reputation. It has teeth. In the nose are twin 20mm cannons that fire close to 170 rounds per second. It is lethal. It is powered either by a Pratt & Whitney F100 engine rated at 29,100 pounds of thrust. To give you an idea, anyone who's ever flown transatlantic, a Boeing 747 will produce 17,000 pounds of thrust on takeoff. This will produce almost double. It is subsonic, although it has been known to go Mach 1 in dives. They rarely ever will do it because it's a single-engine attack fighter. It is multi-role, meaning that in this particular case, these are your air-to-air missiles, These are GBUs, or ground-busting missiles. These can penetrate through concrete into bunkers like in Afghanistan, which is really what this jet is actually armed for. That being said, I can hopefully get this thing off the desk because it is pretty heavy. There we go. We can go on to our next story, which I'm actually very proud to report. The death of an ISIS terrorist that we've all been hoping would happen, Jihadi John. On Thursday, November 12, 2015, an MQ-9 Reaper drone operated by the United States Air Force targeted and killed ISIS executioner Jihadi John, aka Mohammed Emwazi. On Thursday night, U.S. authorities said a Reaper, which was based at a Creed Air Force Base in Nevada. Now, I'll explain why that's significant in a minute. On Thursday night, U.S. authorities said that a Reaper drone had evaporated, which is a military term. Basically, there was nothing left of Jihadi John. They used a missile to kill him. He was evaporated by the Reaper in a site that is known for public executions. I have friends in the military who told me off the record that had they not done this when they did, 2 innocent people most likely would not be talking right now. This machine is designed for one purpose and one purpose only: surgical strikes. The military has even jokingly referred to it as its little operation guy. It is unmanned. There are 2 people. Let's say me and Howie are in a container. Try to picture computer screens in front of us. Howie is the weapons officer. I'm the pilot. I use a joystick to control the aircraft. On the front of the aircraft is a video camera that can record in infrared, ultraviolet, and night vision, meaning no matter where you are, I'm going to see you. Once I lock onto my target, I instruct Howie to then initiate the bomb sequence. We can either use a Hellfire missile or we could use a GPU. In this case, they preferred the Hellfire because it's a lightweight weapon at 100 to 108 pounds, 64 inches in length, and has a speed of Mach 1.3. The drone operates at 30,000 feet, powered by a propeller. You don't even hear it. All you would hear is the sound of chirping birds or camels or whatever. You don't know what's there. All you know is in seconds, you're standing, the next second you're gone. That's what Jihadi John experienced. They were 7,270 miles away from where this guy was killed, flying this drone. The way the drone works is there's a series of satellites in orbit in strategic positions. Each one designates a position where this aircraft will be. Once it reaches position A, then it's instructed to go to position B. Once it goes to position B, then it goes to position C, and so forth until it's on the target. The aircraft has a range of 1,150 miles and can operate over its target for 12 to 14 hours. In that time, they watched him like a hawk, and they knew exactly when to strike. And we will never know who these people are. That's the whole purpose of the U.S. military. They don't tell us who they are. They just tell us what they do. And I want to take this opportunity to not only, on behalf of myself, but I think everybody in this room and everybody in this country, we applaud what you did. You not only freed us of the ISIS, but you did it in a manner that represents the true spirit of the United States and of the Air Force. Finally, a lot of people wondering what this brown envelope is. This is what got me into this. This is my father, Herbert Calvin Kaplan. My father died in 1996. Before I was alive, my father was a second lieutenant in the United States Army Air Corps. He taught bombardiering and navigation. Never really told me what he did. I'm hoping tonight, through the interest of broadband, if anyone knows of my father, he served at Selman Field in Louisiana, Herbert Calvin Kaplan, K-A-L-M-A-N. If there's anyone alive who knows my dad, my email is xcartman@yahoo.com. I would like to meet you and thank you for keeping him alive during World War II, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. My father was the greatest man in my life. He taught me everything I know about aviation. He gave me my wings. He gave me the spirit to fly, and he's the reason Clear for Takeoff exists today. Dad, I know you're in heaven. You're looking down. Know that your little boy is carrying your legacy, and I couldn't be prouder of you. I never got to say that to you when you died, but I know you know it. And you inspired more than you will ever know. And yes, Joe, my father was also a math teacher. So it must be in the blood, because math teachers are extraordinary people. I just want to say that. Thank you so much, Herb, and know that I love you, and you're the reason this segment exists, you and Howie. Thank you so much. And on that note, you've just been cleared for takeoff. Good night.
All right. Great inspiring story from Richard Kaplan. That was awesome. How about